everyone, and welcome back to another super cool radio interview. I'm your host, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have an incredible guest joining me at this time. I'm very excited to have her on the podcast. She is an amazing singer-songwriter from Australia, and she recently released a new album entitled Moonshine. Please welcome Jayne Denham.
Hi, thank you for having me on the show, Matthew.
Of course. As I said, it's awesome to have you on the podcast. I'm very excited to chat with you about the new album Moonshine and so much more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's weird to be in another country having these interviews, I must say, but it's good. I've just off air we were talking about Australia, so never know what could come up.
Oh no, exactly. It's just so cool. Like obviously, being from two different continents here, but having a conversation about music, it's just so cool to see like how much music is universal.
No, absolutely, and it's interesting too when you sing how the accents don't come through. I find that really weird.
I know we have so much to discuss, as I said, with Moonshine, but like before we start diving into that, so like how does it feel to release the album?
Oh, it's a relief because I've been working on this for nearly 18 months, 2 years, I guess. So to finally have it out, because you only get one chance at release date, you know what I mean? Like the next day, it's too late if you needed to do something. So it's a lot of work leading up to the album. So to have it out is definitely a relief. And it's good too, because it's sort of like you've made this piece of art and you do want to share it. So by the time it comes out, you've heard it so many times, but it's really great to get such a great result so far. It's only it's only a couple of weeks old, well, a week old. So there you go.
Oh, no, exactly. And I've had the opportunity to listen to the album. I really enjoy it. So I know the music industry has been focusing a lot on singles. So like I prefer albums. I love albums. But like I'm curious, like for you, for like in a more single dominated like music industry to release an album, like how does that feel for you?
Oh, look, I think you're absolutely right. We are in a singles world, but I'm a huge fan of bodies of work, and also I guess saying something or having a theme is really fun, because one song's great, and I have done singles as well over the years, but I when we were in lockdown during COVID, I just came up with this idea. I wanted to do another record, and I'd done an EP just before that, but I was like, nah, I really like doing the whole. I found a lot of people saying, oh, I wanted to hear more when I did the EP. So yeah, okay, it costs you a lot more money. So you have to be prepared for that cost. But I think the cost certainly outweighs the support you get from people like yourself who enjoy full albums. And so with the album we did during lockdown, I had this idea of mixing an old spaghetti western movie with country rock, which is what my style of country is. And so we spent 9-10 months writing songs, finding songs to go under that umbrella, and it was the most creative fun I've ever had, because we were able to sort of blow out the borders and not have to follow any trends. I just said, I don't care anymore. I'm sick of ticking boxes. I want to create something that's different, that's me, that's creative, that I enjoyed making. Because let's face it, we're all in lockdown with nothing to do. You may as well enjoy what you're going to do, not just, oh, this song will chart well, or this song will do well on this playlist. I'm like, nah, I'm just going to make art for art's sake. And it ended up getting me a Album of the Year nomination here in Australia, which was like, that was my fifth album. So to get that recognition was a really big deal. And that's like your CMAs over there. So I'm really glad I did it. And so this album is the next chapter, I'm calling it, of that era albums, I guess. So that was the spaghetti western era, and this one is the moonshine prohibition era. And again, it was just really fun to create songs that take you on a journey. Like with Wanted, we actually put sound effects and everything in that record to take you on a full journey, whereas this one we started with the Moonshine Raid to take you on that musical journey. But it had to have the right song titles, the right themes, the right message. It couldn't be all just dark. It had to be happy and fun and party and all those. So it's creatively, it's a really fun process. So I like doing singles now and then if it's a one-off project, but I think whenever I'm doing music, I'll always do albums.
Although as I said, I've had the opportunity to listen to the album, and I really like it because, like, definitely a journey. You cover so many different like emotions from beginning to end. It flows so nicely, and I like you included some rock elements in there too. Like I typically listen to a lot of rock music, but like I really like I like a lot of like old school country as well. But you got a nice like blend with like rock and country.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I grew up on rock. Well, I actually grew up on country, but then when I was in high school, I discovered rock, and Aussie pub rock here is such a cultural thing. And in Australia, like AC/DC and In Excess and all those type of rock pop sort of artists was what I grew up on. And so I guess that's where it came from. And I was doing rock, but I grew up on country like yourself, grew up on the traditional country. So when I started writing, it sort of became natural. But my first ever band was a rock band. So it's funny now doing this record, we decided to push it a little bit more modern, which we've added a little bit more rock than we did on the Wanted album. Just to bring it forward, because obviously the time in history was a bit more modern too. They weren't on horses. They were now driving fast cars, getting away from the cops, taking their moonshine on the road. And, so that was really why we were able to do that musically. And it's kind of weird because I've now been put on some sort of things out there saying this is a rock album, and I got a review. That's right. I was going to say I got a review in a magazine saying the best 3 rock albums you should listen to at the moment. So I was like, that's so cool because it's country, but it's rock, but it's the idea, I guess, behind it is to take the instruments and the sounds from the Prohibition era and put it into a rock album that's also country. So yeah, it's easy for me to do that stuff, like I said, because I grew up on it. But it's nice that people are recognizing it for this record. It's really, I'm stoked.
Oh no, and as you should be. As I said, it's a phenomenal album. But I do like the kind of touch of like rock music in there as well. But you explaining your background and stuff definitely makes a lot more sense now. Yeah. But I'm curious, you were talking about, it's kind of focused more on the Prohibition era. So like, do you ever do research like to get into like that like headspace before you recorded this album? Like, did you do research or history on this?
Yeah. So, I mean, people are like, but hang on, you're Australian. It's not your history of your country.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So it's sort of funny because here in Australia, moonshine isn't a big thing. Like you can buy it here in Australia from bottle shops, but it's not very well known, and it's becoming a little bit more popular. So even that, they're like, what do you mean moonshine? Isn't that the thing in the sky? Like, no, I'm like, no, it's a drink. And with the history of country music, we're not a very old country here. So like that's the history of music that we now have learnt from over the years, and now we have our own Australian country music, our Australian rock music, but it all came from that era, like eras and eras and eras and eras before that. So it was fun to sort of look into what the type of music was around at that time, more to get inspiration musically than anything. Like I wanted the undercurrent of the sound to be the music from that era. And Brian White and Brian Bunn, my producers, they are American. So they were able to really give advice and thoughts. And I had friends here in Australia who were saying, listen to this, this is the music that came from that day. But Brian Bunn is the most phenomenal musician, and he actually played every instrument on the record except for the drums, and he knew the Prohibition era and the musical instruments and things like that. So for him and Brian White, it was really fun to sort of, I guess, go back in history and think about, well, okay, what were the instruments? What was the sound? So again, it makes it more fun than, oh, let's write a hit song. Yeah, wow, that's exciting. You know, it's like, well, what did they do? Like even with, for instance, one of the songs on the record, Risk It All, I was like, yeah, they had to risk it all, these moonshiners. So tick, there's a title that fits the Moonshine record. Two, moonshiners would always be risking it all, but also it's a modern day thing, you know, risk it all. So we got to write that song with the idea of moonshine era, but put a twist on it. And I said, I want it to be a barn burner. I want it to be fast and fun so we can perform it live as well. So yeah, it certainly is. The only thing that happens when I do these sorts of things, everyone thinks I'm an expert. and everyone's like, oh yeah, so do you know all the spaghetti western movies ever made? I'm like, no. Do you know everything about the moonshine era? No, but you know, I certainly be inspired. I don't think I'll be writing a book anytime soon about the moonshine era. I'll leave experts.
Well, maybe not in the moonshine era, but maybe you're in your career and maybe an autobiography. That would be cool,
yeah,
though.
Okay, I can do that. That I can do.
So, but I'm curious too. So like, how was it like writing and recording Moonshine? Was it a different experience compared to like Wanted?
Yeah, it was a little bit in that with the Wanted album, we did the whole record via Zoom. So they did the band tracks in America and I did the vocals, and then we'd fly them over in Dropbox, you know, to do the whole record. So I hadn't even met Brian Bunn till after we'd released, recorded, and had all the success of Wanted. So that was kind of weird. But it was, but with this one, I got to go over and record some songs with the boys in the studio. So that was really fun to do and hang out with them. And yeah, because it's a creative process, you know, an album. So it was good. It was good fun. But again, I got to record all my vocals here in Australia. And I sort of let them do their whole Mad Professor thing. Like the two of them love to get in the cave and come up with all these ideas. And so I guess I'm the person who comes up with the big picture, and then I let them paint the detail. And it's worked really well, and we've really enjoyed doing these two albums together. So, yeah.
All right. And so, like, I'm curious you. So, obviously, you do the vocals and, like, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, what's your reaction like when you get like the mixes back? Like, you know, from when they, as you said, kind of, you know, put everything together, put the details and stuff. Like, what is your reaction for it?
Yeah, I think working with the excellence level of the boys, they would never send me things back that I'm not happy with. You know, it's not very often I have to make too many changes. One, I think Brian White, this is my third album I've worked with Brian White, so he knows me really well. He knows I've had a lot of experience recording in studios, so my vocals I'm so fussy about. So I would never send them the vocal until I felt it was at the level of 10. And then hopefully it works and they're happy with it as well. And to be honest, both albums I had to record one song again, which was unusual. I usually just go, oh yeah, that's really good, I'm really happy. But they go, look, it's just not, it's missing something, or it's not. So that was a bit different to have to do that. But when I do get the mixes and masters, I go for a drive in my car and have a listen. And sometimes I'll go, oh, it needs a little bit of this or it needs a little bit of that. But 9 out of 10 times they're so good at what they do. I just let them go.
All right. I was just curious because obviously they're top-notch professionals with it, and obviously the album turned out amazing, as I've been saying throughout this interview, because I really enjoy it. So like for you, like, do you like prepare differently to like record vocals and like in a studio compared to performing live?
Well, it's sort of funny. Some people say to me, you sound even better live, which is a weird thing. And I think what that is when I'm running around on stage and I'm singing, you're always taking these big breaths and you're moving, because singing's a body sport, if you want to put it that way. It's all about getting the breath and the tone and the way you project the sound. And there's so much to singing that a lot of people wouldn't understand. And I think for me, I was very young, and I remember someone saying, she showed me a video of Madonna, and it was like, look how she holds her body to make that sound, to get that tone in her voice. And she's a phenomenal singer. And I guess I learnt that very young, that it's not just about this part of the body that you sing from. It's not just the mouth and the throat and the stomach. It's all of it. You've got to hold the tone. So I find that weird, because then when I get in the studio, I'm not running around. I'm not crouching down to get there. You know what I mean? I have to like stand still and try and get this, especially the style of country that I do, the style of singing I do. It's in your face. Some of the vocals are very much need that. So I've learned over the years I have to lower the mic, bend my knees, and lean forward as if I'm on stage leaning into a microphone. So yeah, it's kind of funny that I've worked that out. And I've done a lot of singing in my life in the studio, from session stuff. So yeah, I enjoy being in the studio, but I think I prefer being on stage more. I don't know why. I don't know. That's just my thing.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, obviously, the both kind of, you do the same job, but you do it in different settings. And I think just the live energy of a live performance, you get the crowd, you see people. I think kind of makes it a little bit more exciting compared to a studio, in my opinion.
And you're right. It's adrenaline.
There we go. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Yes. Yeah. And I think just you see that human connection, just seeing people, in the crowd, just enjoying the music, I think just adds more to it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably something I really tried harder this record to do, is bring a bit more emotion into the songs, because I can just get in there and like rip out a song and hit all the notes. But I think part of singing is connecting emotionally on the songs. And like, for instance, Poison was one of the songs I had to re-record, because that's actually a George Strait cover. And when I recorded it, it just didn't have enough, I don't know, it just didn't have enough soul to it. So I went back in the studio and re-recorded it. And that's very unusual for me, because normally I just sing it. But we really wanted to capture this record. And I have to say that was a really good call from my management, saying, go back and do it again. I think you can do it even better. And I had to find another part of me to get that sound, which was fun. I really enjoyed having that challenge, I guess, because you're exposed emotionally. So, and yeah, it's one of my favorite songs on the record, actually. So.
Oh no, it turned out amazing. Just so like going back in, like you had to kick it into another gear to get that kind of soul of that of the song. So how was that?
Oh, it was hard in that I'm so used to just getting in there and singing it, and all the notes are perfect and stuff like that. But I think that's something where, as an artist, you've got to always find that heart and soul into a song, because a lot of my songs are very let's party and let's have fun, and or I write about another person, like whether it's when I used to do my trucking songs, I'd be singing about a chick, so I could really relate to it. But when you have to sing it and it's meant to come from your heart, that's a little bit different. And I found it actually hard to sing that song, because my dad was a huge George Strait fan, and I grew up listening to George Strait, and my dad passed away 2 years ago. So it was kind of like that emotion of, I want to do the song justice. I'm trying not to cry, because my dad would be so stoked that I'm recording a George Strait song. So yeah, maybe that's why it does have that little element there in that song that I think people are connecting to.
Oh no, it's definitely very emotional. And now, kind of knowing your kind of background with it, I can definitely see that now with it, and kind of pull that extra emotion out of it as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Of course. But I did also want to talk about, so going along with the album Moonshine, you actually partnered with Franklin County Distillery. to have your own moonshine. So, like, how did this come about? What are the details? Like, what can you tell us about this?
Oh, Matthew, I know it's so weird that all happened. So, I worked with Colt Ford on the Moonshine single, and that was actually the first song we released from the record. And Colt Ford had a Moonshine line, and my team were like, well, it would make sense if we could get sponsorship to go alongside with the Moonshine record, and we can sell it and promote it and use that as a tool. Which here in Australia, oh my gosh, that was like seriously the coolest thing ever because nobody has moonshine in Australia because it doesn't even exist here hardly. So it was sort of like all the boys like, we've got these beer sponsorships. Jayne's got moonshine. She's so badass. Like it was. It was kind of funny. It's like this chick got it. So, but yeah, they heard about the record and were happy to partner with me, and we got to choose 2 different flavors. So it's actually been held up because it was hard to get into Australia, a lot harder than we had predicted because I guess they've only ever shipped around America, and so to have it. Okay, yeah, let's put it in a crate and send it to Australia. But it was going to end up costing $80 in tax per bottle. So it was going to make them like over $200. So it's still coming, but we've just had to figure out how to get it here. And yeah, it's still coming. So it's still pretty cool that I've got and it does taste really nice. So if you get a bottle, people, it's worth trying.
Well, it sounds awesome. Hopefully, you obviously send it to Australia. $80 a bottle in taxes. That's a lot. So hopefully it's not that much when it does ship over there. But
now I feel like a moonshiner because I've got I feel like I'm like shipping moonshine because we've got 2 cases of it at my manager's house and my management office, and so you are allowed to bring 2 bottles of moonshine in your suitcase or any alcohol back to Australia. So now all of a sudden I'm trying to find friends who are going to America to bring me back some of my moonshine. That's like kind of weird. It's like now I feel like I'm really, really badass. I'm smuggling moonshine into Australia.
That's just an awesome connection, obviously with the Moonshine album, and now you have Moonshine, and you have to figure out a way to get it into Australia. That is an awesome, a coincidence and connection.
I know, right? You need to have it like in your jacket, where you have it. Oh yeah, I'm just coming through customs. What's in your jacket? Nothing. Oh, just moonshine. Jayne Denham needs.
Oh, that I don't know if the customs have quite a sense of humor, but that would be funny. They're like, oh no, Jayne Denham needs it. Just it's cool. It's cool.
Let it through.
Like, yeah, you want a shot before I leave?
Yeah.
Well, that is awesome. I saw the announcement for it, and congratulations on the partnership. And so hopefully they'll come to Australia, and maybe I might pick myself up a bottle as well.
That's it. You have to get some for sure.
So, but now before we start wrapping up this interview, so I'm curious. So, kind of focusing more on the live music side, I saw you got quite a few live performances coming up. So, like, what shows do you have coming up that kind of details? What are you at liberty to say?
Yeah, so we're basically touring throughout Australia at the moment, but I'm hoping to get over to the States later in the year. I did have some shows planned to do with Colt Ford, but unfortunately he had a heart attack, and yeah, he's not doing so great, but he will be back. So hopefully next year I'll get to do some shows with Colt Ford. But in the meantime, yeah, I'll be coming over to America and hopefully doing some shows later in the year. But the Moonshine album is on and happening, the album and the show. So yeah, it's a lot of festivals too, which has been great because we've made the show very big. We can do it in smaller venues, but it's got lots of video, and we kind of take you on a musical journey. Like the record, we've been able to figure out how to do it live as well, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, no, right on. Sounds like it's gonna be an awesome time. Now, have you performed in the United States before?
I have, yeah. I've performed there quite a lot. I on my first few albums, or 4, what are we up to? 4 albums. I wrote songs about semi trucks and girls that drove trucks, and songs for the trucking industry. So I actually got invited over to perform at all the truck shows in America. So I know, right? Now I'll be at moonshine festivals, I'll be at Western movie festivals and truck shows. So, but yeah, that was really fun to go over there and perform at the truck shows over the years. But yeah, it's just a sort of different chapter at the moment. Still, the songs are still out there, and in fact, I think I might even be coming back for a truck show next year. So yeah. I will be doing more than just truck shows, hopefully, moving forward.
All right on, right on. So is it a different experience like performing in Australia compared to the United States?
Yeah, it definitely is. Because I can pull out some Australian slang and you all love it. So no, it's pretty much the same. I think it's just here in Australia, music, we're a very sporting nation. So it is, music's not people go out and see music, but nothing like America. America loves their music, supports their artists. So I do feel that America is superior in that way when it comes to getting over there and doing music. And whenever I've done shows, the crowds have just been brilliant. Not that they aren't here, but it's just a bigger country, and yeah, it's just different. It's just different in that the music industry is definitely so big in the States, which is great. So I can't wait to come back and do it again. And there's so many great musicians. That's the other thing. I put myself, or my management put together a band for me, and they were phenomenal. So you really get to see the quality of excellence that is in America, as you would imagine. So yeah, it's great.
Oh no, for sure. Especially, living in America, I see it, just a lot. I haven't traveled abroad yet. I do want to at some point, but yeah, I've and talking to other musicians from other countries who've toured in America, it kind of said, similar to you with like just, America, they love showing their support.
Oh, it's just brilliant. Yeah, it's a great culture over there, and can't wait to get back.
For sure. Maybe I'll catch you at a show sometime. But before we close out this interview, so like, what are like the rest of your plans for 2024?
So I think this year we'll be just touring the album and doing some more promotions. We may have something coming out later in the year to partner with the record, and the Moonshine will be coming out too. So, but yeah, just basically touring, Matthew, and promoting the record, and who knows what 2025 will look like. But for now, yeah, just lots of promotion and gigs and festivals, and yeah, can't wait. Love it. That's good. Is getting out there and singing the songs and having people get to know your music and then come to your shows and sing along. That's always such a big joy. So I'm looking forward to that. Now it's out, they can learn it.
Oh, for sure. I hope the rest of the year goes great for you. Got some awesome things in the works as well. Plus, the new album Moonshine available everywhere. Please, check this out. Yeah, physical copies as well. Plus, you're getting the Moonshine in 2 bottles at a time. So hopefully that will be fully stocked at some point. But I will leave links for everything Jayne Denham in the description of this podcast, plus her store as well. Please support her. Jayne, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. Good.
Of course. For Jayne Denham, I'm your host always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Super Cool Radio. And remember, stay frosty.